It's so interesting to me that like the things that we think of as the easy part of this work, if we actually understand what we're doing and dive a little deeper, it turns out they're full of it's really actually hard work, and which also means it's value laden. Like there's so much
Mhm.
value. So what you're talking about, like where are you today? We would just in shorthand, we would call that a balance sheet. And we've always thought like, well, balance sheet, that's the easy part because it's totally objective. There's nothing subjective about a balance sheet. Like it's just numbers. We get a balance, we put it on the thing, we write the thing. Yeah, and it's sort of like the circle in the Venn diagram of what's important to you. Like, oh, that's the easy part. All we have to do is write down what's important to you. Well, it turns out there's so much there. So yeah, the balance sheet to me, I just have found, and you've pointed out something I haven't really thought much about, which is awesome because I've been thinking about this for over easily a decade, right? I've been thinking about this one thing, like, where am I? For a decade. I mean, Jess, I that word, align your use of capital with what you say is important to you. And the word say was in there. And I've been thinking about the word say for more than 10 years. It turns out I removed the word say because I don't actually care what you say is important to you. Like I'll tell you what's currently important to you through your revealed preferences, called how you're spending your time, energy, money, and attention. And then we'll look at that and you'll go, oh, that's not actually important to me. Like, well, actually it is right now. Let's change that. And so I think the balance sheet's the same thing. It's like, yeah, I hadn't actually thought about the sort of feeling of the balance sheet feeling like loose ground, which I think is really, really important and the cool insight. I'd always thought my work around that balance sheet thing was mainly around like, remember every line item on the balance sheet is also a story. And we've all been in those meetings where the spouses are fighting about, I told you that was a bad idea. Or I told you we should have bought twice as much of that. And we just have to remember that everything that's on a balance sheet, somebody made a decision to put there. And often in a first meeting with a client, we're going to like rip that rug out and tell them how stupid all those things are because we've got a better way. And we do that in such a callous way that we don't leave any room for people to just sort of like unwind a bit. Like, oh, right. Like we don't leave any room for the argument that happened. I'm just thinking of somebody super close to me that her husband made a mistake. He thought it was a good idea, made a mistake. It's 20 years later. Every time money came up, every single time, which was often in our presence. Every time she would say, I told you like 20 years, please. Like like you made a mistake. So we've all been in those meetings. So that's a balance sheet, right? It's not, it's a set of calculations.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That pain that she feels, like this is real to her. She's naming off all the things that aren't on that balance sheet because of that decision, right?
Right.
When she sees that balance sheet, she sees missing things that she could have had that are not there.
And she knows, and we'll hear them.
Yeah.
We did this. What about the trip? What about, if only.
Yeah. When he looks at it, he feels shame, right?
Shame and blame.
Shame and blame every time he sees, and it's this hard number. It's this hard number. And it's like people, when they come in and they have decided to get their fitness right, I hate standing there while they step on a scale. I hate it. It's my least favorite thing out of everything that I do as a coach is being there in that moment when they step on a scale. It's the easiest number to put down on a sheet of paper, but it is for most of them, the worst number to feel. And they'll tell you, I haven't looked at it. I haven't stepped on a scale in a year or more, or they don't want to look at the number. They'll let you write it down, but they don't want to look at the number. They don't want to, they don't want to hold the tension along with what has gotten them to that point, along with the opportunity. And to me, this whole imposter syndrome thing, I'm so excited to talk to you about this, is being able to hold the tension of two competing ideas.
You're right.
And
Right.
for me, I felt it first as a coach because I had to coach things like a muscle up and I couldn't do one yet. And so I had to find a way to acknowledge the fact that I don't know how to do one, and also acknowledge the fact that I have to still teach it. It's still there. Right. I don't know how to do one, but I'm as a coach responsible for teaching this class how to get better. And it is taking them from that, getting clear about where they are and helping them find that next, local optimum for their muscle up. Everybody in the class is in a different spot. I knew I was very clear with where I was, but it wasn't about me, right? It wasn't about me in that moment. Right. It was about where they were and about what their next local optimum was. And the more I thought about me and considered whether or not I'm at that place, the less it became about them. So it was this whole holding the tension of that well enough to be able to move into a moment with them as the focus of my time and attention.
Greetings, Carl Richards here. The clip you just listened to was one of my favorite conversations I've ever had, and it was on the breakthrough factor by my friend Jess Bost. I love talking with Jess because she's so good at asking questions that really matter. Now, I love this conversation with her so much that we cut up a bunch of different clips. You've listened to one. If you'd like to get more, just follow the instructions below.